You wake in the morning and your phone is already buzzing. Her message, a new notification, a subtle pull in your gut. You start the day reactive, already chasing someone else's attention. That creeping anxiety, that tightness in your chest. Don't pretend you don't feel it. It's not because you slept wrong. It's because you woke soft, already negotiating your worth. That right there is the shame. Not your shame, built quietly, day by day. Whenever you soften to fit in, to avoid tension, to be liked. A shame imposed not by malice, but by conditioning. By the world telling you that your drive is dangerous, your ambition is selfish, your boundaries are cold, especially from her lips. You're too much. Why can't you just be easy? That voice pierces, lodges, stays, and you shrink. That's capitulation. You collapse into comfort to avoid conflict. You dim your edges so you're less threatening. You mute your ambition so you fit her mold. You relinquish power, not because it's wrong to stand strong, but because you've confused softness with love. Because she needed you to disappear so her world could feel safe. And now you carry that need, unconsciously. Alfred Adler called this inferiority feelings. We all feel small sometimes, but a man compensates. He builds, he aims, he transforms those feelings into fuel. He uses them to forge meaning. Whereas capitulation, it feeds shame. It says, I'll shrink for your comfort. And every time you do that, your spirit erodes. Your presence dims. You become a ghost trapped in your own life. Adler believed in striving for superiority, not in arrogance, but in mastery. Not to dominate, but to transcend. The goal isn't to crush others, it's to outgrow your old self, to prove to yourself you belong, to create significance from insecurity. That's compensation. Real masculine growth. It doesn't ask for applause, it refuses to bow. It builds silently, stubbornly, day after day. You feel the tension in daily routines, on the commute where you could scroll and drown. Instead, maybe you choose a podcast on mastery. Maybe you observe your thoughts and let the shame chatter go unmoved. You don't shrug it off, you observe. And when you notice it, you fight back not with rage, but with presence. That's compensation. It doesn't scream. It centers. It breathes through impulse. At work, you notice how easy it is to mesh, to tone down your ideas so they're more suitable, less risky. You feel that urge, the voice that says, maybe I'll save the idea for later. But later never comes. Compensation doesn't wait. It speaks up. It stands beside its conviction even within uncertainty. It owns its place because it's built one. In relationships, it's simple. You don't collapse to manage her emotions. You don't smooth waves by drowning your presence. You hold the space between you honestly, balancing empathy with structure. If she asks you to change your schedule so she's less lonely, and you've already leaned soft, you fold. But compensation answers the ask from alignment. I care, but I also have this. That's sovereignty. You don't sacrifice you, yet you stay connected. Feel that friction, her withdrawal, your chest tightening like guilt. That's the showdown. Capitulators panic. They beg to fix it. They chase. They collapse their structure to repair her mood. But you plant your feet. You say, I see you. I'll address it, but not at the cost of my mission. That's compensation. Not cruelty, but clarity. Real love isn't a veil, it's a voice. Your body feels it too. When comfort calls, late night snacks, low effort workouts, hitting snooze, shame whispers softly, you don't have to be more. Then compensation strides in. I do. You rise, you train, you discipline, you reclaim your temple. You feel the emphasis of strength moving through your bones like truth echoing. That's masculine sovereignty. That's graduation from shame. That's why Adler said belonging is not a goal, it's a result of becoming. You don't shrink to fit, you expand to become. And the people who align, they resonate. Those who don't, they drop off. That isn't loss, that's freedom, that's clarity, that's sovereignty. You stop watering the weeds so real growth can take root. Adler also warned against life tasks avoided: love, work, friendship. 3 arenas where growth demands authenticity, contribution, risk. Feminine imposed shame says suppress your ambition so she can feel secure, teaching you to capitulate. But compensation says contribute, commit, create. Build something in the world using your gifts. Transform your heartache into mastery. That's heroic. That's real work. You've been living a life that looks fine, but you feel hollow. Because fine is code for haven't fully shown up yet. You've hidden behind routines, behind smoke screens, behind half-built projects. And now life is giving you the next threshold. Will you deepen? Will you step off the safe ledge into authenticity? Or will you fold under the pressure to perform gentler, smaller? Adler would call you to courage, to confrontation, to meaningful action. He'd tell you shame is a signal, not a stop sign. That feeling small is the entry point to becoming significant. That every moment you respond to shame with creation, you reclaim territory from your former self. So feel it, the shame, the tap, tap, tap of comfort pulling you toward it. The worry, what if she leaves? What if they judge? What if I fail? But feel it and walk toward it. Choose action. Build the thing. Speak the truth. Hold the presence. Discipline your body. Train your mind. That's compensation. That's masculine growth in a modern world that wants to shrink you for the sake of peace. That's strength anchored in purpose. That's love flowing through alignment, not desperation. That's sovereignty walking through the pain of becoming. Every morning is another choice. Create or collapse. Grow or shrink. Compensate or capitulate. So choose. Now you're not addicted to comfort. You're starved for more. You're not emotionally fragile. You're undiscovered. You're not weak. You're in process. And your moment is here. You might think shame is just some emotional hiccup, a moment of awkwardness or regret, but you felt it deeper than that, haven't you? That slow seep into your bones that whispers, you're not enough. You feel it every time you bite your tongue instead of speaking your truth. Every time you apologize for your ambition or soften your boundaries so she doesn't get upset. Every time you replay conversations late at night, wondering if you said too much or not enough. That's shame operating, not as an accident, but as a force that pulls your power away. Adler showed that shame is not a personal failure. It's a social weapon. It's the tool culture, relationships, and especially feminine dynamics used to domesticate your fire. When you try to grow, it's there, lurking behind the "you're too intense" or "why can't you just relax?" Every word that shrinks you chips away at your masculine sovereignty. And it's subtle. You don't notice at first. You start to think, maybe I am too much. Maybe I'm the problem. That little voice grows louder until it becomes a cage of invisibility, softness, retreat. This cage is what most men live in without knowing it. And it's why so many men feel exhausted, yet unfulfilled. They live reactive. They live second to the moods and pressures around them, because their identity isn't theirs anymore. It's borrowed from the approval they fear losing. But here's the truth you need to hear. The cage was never meant to hold you. It's your job to break it, to refuse the emotional sedation and the subtle commands that say, shrink, to fight back with the only weapon that truly works, compensation. Compensation means you accept the shame. You see it, you feel it, and you use it. Not to punish yourself, not to surrender, but to fuel your growth. It means when she pushes your limits, you don't fold. You say what's true, calm, firm, unshaken. You don't soften your ambition to avoid tension. You lean into it. This isn't some macho fantasy. It's practical. It's strategic. It's how you reclaim your nervous system from the chaos of emotional hijacking. The masculine spine is built through resistance, not avoidance. You remember how it feels when you get triggered. That tightening in your chest, the quickening pulse, the urge to apologize or justify or disappear. It's not just nerves, it's your system screaming for ownership. And that's where modern culture fails men. It teaches you to chase comfort, to numb discomfort, to avoid conflict. But compensation demands you face discomfort head on. You sit in it, you breathe through it, you own your story instead of hiding it. That means rejecting the narrative that your emotions must be managed for others' comfort. It means saying no to emotional manipulation disguised as care. It means setting boundaries so firm that even she knows you're not negotiable. But with boundaries comes resistance. She will test you. She will cry. She will withdraw. She will accuse you of being too distant or too cold. And your old instinct might be to fold. But compensation means you stay. You don't run from her tears or silence. You don't try to fix her emotions. You hold your center and let her feel it. That's when polarity happens. That's when respect is earned. That's when the masculine becomes magnetic. It's the pressure and release of presence, not chaos disguised as passion, not collapse masquerading as vulnerability. Real masculinity is the calm in the storm, the steady hand on the wheel, the man who faces her waves without losing his ground. This is not easy, it's not quick, and it demands a deep rewiring of how you respond to shame and pressure. You need to track your reactions when you crumble, when you chase approval, when you explain your way out of conflict. That's where your power leaks. But once you notice, once you become an observer instead of a reactor, you can choose differently. You can say, I will not fold because I'm afraid you'll leave. You can say, I will not apologize for being ambitious. You can say, I will hold my ground even if it hurts. That's compensation, and it rebuilds your nervous system with fireproof wiring. It's why your body matters. Adler said life tasks require effort and courage. Your health isn't vanity, it's fuel. Your strength isn't bravado. It's the physical embodiment of your mental clarity. Your disciplined habits anchor your emotional presence. If your body is soft, your mind follows. If your mind is fuzzy, your spirit shrinks. The world knows this. Your challenges aren't abstract. They're physical, visceral, embodied. So the man who compensates doesn't just read about growth. He moves his body through tension. He raises strength through sweat. He disciplines his habits so his emotions don't hijack him. That's why discipline is the antidote to shame. Because shame thrives in chaos. It crumbles in order. This isn't about becoming cold or emotionless. It's about becoming hard to move, hard to shame, hard to manipulate, hard to disarm. This isn't about avoiding love or connection. It's about holding love from a place of power and choice, not collapse. You can feel the tension right now. You're not living the life you imagined. You want to be more. You want to rise. You want to be the man who owns his value instead of begging for approval. But something holds you back. It's that old voice, the one that says, what if I lose her? What if I'm too much? What if I fail? That voice is shame speaking, but you can answer it with compensation. You can show up. You can keep building even when she pulls away. You can keep leading even when the silence grows. You can keep being strong even when guilt tries to crash your system. Because compensation isn't just a mindset. It's a battle, a daily fight, a war for your soul. And every moment you choose growth over collapse, you're winning. You're rewriting the story shame told you. You're reclaiming your masculine legacy. This is your work, to stand, to build, to hold, in a world that wants you soft, in a world that profits from your collapse. You choose to compensate, and that is how you become the man you were born to be. You've been carrying the weight of expectation your whole life, the silent rules drilled into you since you were a kid. The be a good boy that mutates into don't be too much when you become a man. The creeping pressure to tone down, soften, negotiate, apologize, to shrink yourself into a shape that won't disturb others. You've lived in that cage long enough. But here's the truth you must take in, deep down in your gut. No one is coming to free you. No woman, no coach, no mentor, no cultural movement. The only freedom you get is the freedom you take. That's the line Adler drew. The line between compensation and capitulation is the line you walk every day. Compensation is brutal, it's honest, it's lonely. It demands a grind of presence you can't fake. It requires you to stare down shame, fear, rejection, and say, I'm still here, I'm still becoming. Most men never reach this place. They settle for partial truths. They practice soft masculinity, polite, quiet, reactive. They settle for hollow victories, social approval, surface-level comfort. But not you. You know the prize is beyond that. It's mastery. Mastery over your inner world. Mastery over your emotional system. Mastery over your decisions, your body, your influence. You know the world tries to shame you into submission, makes you feel guilty for your ambition, your edge, your boundaries. But you don't fold. You steel yourself. You hold frame even when it's uncomfortable. You speak truth, even when it risks rejection. You work hard even when she doubts your worth. That's masculine mastery. And it's not about crushing others. It's about crushing your old self. The one who begged for approval, who played small, who softened to avoid conflict. You've buried that man. You're building another. The one who wakes at dawn, not because he has to, but because he wants to. The one who controls his nervous system instead of letting moods hijack him. The one who can hold space for others, but never at the cost of his mission. Because compensation isn't selfishness, it's sovereignty. It's owning your place in the world, no matter the cost. It's refusing to hand your power away for comfort or connection. It's knowing that sometimes growth means losing people. Sometimes growth means walking alone. You felt that sting before. Maybe it was a breakup. Maybe it was a falling out with a friend. Maybe it was the cold shoulder when you set a boundary. That's the price, and it's worth it, because the alternative is worse. Capitulation kills you slowly. It robs your vitality, your clarity, your presence. It turns you into a ghost, visible, but not real. Compensation gives you back your life. It lets you be the man who moves through the world with purpose and power. And here's how you do it. You wake up and take control of your day. Not with hype or motivation, but with discipline. You train your body because it's the home of your soul. You work your craft because it's your path to significance. You breathe through tension because your nervous system is the battlefield. You don't wait for permission to lead. You don't ask for validation to stand tall. You don't shrink for anyone, not even for love. Because love built on collapse is not love. It's codependency. It's weakness disguised as compassion. Real love honors your growth. It challenges your edges. It demands your full presence. And if you want to keep her, or keep any woman in your orbit, you must keep yourself first. That's what Adler meant by life tasks. Love, work, friendship. They demand your authentic contribution. Not your absence, not your half-heartedness, your whole self. You must learn to say no without apology. You must learn to hold your center when emotions rage. You must learn to protect your time and energy fiercely. This is the work few men do, and the world desperately needs it, because a man who compensates builds more than himself. He builds a legacy. He builds a family. He builds a world where weakness doesn't dictate terms. Your presence becomes a container for others, not a drain. Your voice becomes a beacon, not noise. And the freedom that comes with it? It's priceless. You don't live to please. You live to lead. You don't collapse for connection. You connect through presence. You don't apologize for your fire. You light the way. Now, look around. How many men do you see living like that? How many voices do you hear owning their truth with quiet power? How many men walk through shame to compensation every day? The truth is, most don't. They settle, they fold, they fade. But not you, because you're not built for half measures. You're not here to survive. You're here to master. This is your call, your war, your path. The one where you fight shame with action, where you replace guilt with discipline, where you trade collapse for sovereignty. And every day you win that war, you get closer to becoming the man you always were meant to be. If this struck a chord inside you, say it. Speak your truth below, not for validation, but for clarity. And if you're ready to own that path, subscribe for brotherhood, for real talk, for a space where men build instead of break. This isn't a game. It's a fight for your life, and you're winning. Stay sharp, stay true,